he knew it was free money. Because you don't self-fund something for $5 billion at a risk, at a whim.
No, when it's risky, that's where you go shake a bunch of hands and bring in investors.
Yep.
And call it private equity.
Yep, exactly.
This podcast contains the arguably witty banter of two friends, Skippy and Doogles, that like to debate about investing. The content is intended to be entertaining and for informational purposes only, not investment advice. You should do your own research and consult a financial professional before using any of the information in this podcast, and especially before investing.
Back in the place to be with Skippy and Doogles. We are talking investing today, as always. SkippyDoogles@gmail.com. Hit us up with listener mail, your thoughts, your loves, your indecisions. And always, you can go to skippydoogles.com. Check it out. Everything you want to know about us, it's right on there. We have two items for y'all today that are meaty, and one to kick it off that's a little less meaty, but it's worth a mention. The little less meaty one that we're going to kick it off with is Stan Kroenke, owner of many a franchise, a sports franchise, which we'll name in a little bit, to discuss his real estate business. Then we're going to go into this report from a German institute called the Kiel Institute about the impact of tariffs on the last 12 months, U.S. tariffs specifically, and wrap it up with a summary of the 10th anniversary episode of the Acquired podcast. They analyzed their own podcast and said, what have we learned from the companies that we've studied? We're going to hit on some of the points they've learned.
Well, speaking of investing, do you know what AMC Theaters does better than Nike?
Lose money.
Nailed it. Crushed it. This is a long and rambling story, but I think the payoff is worth it, Doogles.
Okay.
I'd say 3 times in the past half year, I've booked time on my calendar to try and get the latest release of like a Nike jacket, a Nike shoe, something, right?
Yep.
And the thing sold out within like 7 seconds. And basically, I'm wondering how much of the company I have to buy to get on the board, to get priority to these drops.
Oh,
I mean,
my goodness. Where does AMC come into this?
Well, because at least for a second, I don't know if they still do this, and I never owned AMC because it was a scam. It still is. They would reward shareholders. Like if you owned equity, you got discounts and stuff. Like where is me over here who owns a significant portion of the company, at least for me? It's not like I own 50% of the thing or anything. Why can't I get some priority on get the sneakers I want? I mean, come on. It's got to be like premium tier, plus tier, and you own a bunch of the company tier.
I like this. Mr. Hill, if you are listening to this, please take care of your shareholders. There's one very desperate shareholder here that is waiting for a jacket, a shoe, just one shoe. You don't need 2 shoes.
I want 2 shoes. The larger point is, I actually love about Nike. I love when people show restraint, but the most recent drops I'm talking about, some relate to the Olympics, and the Winter Olympics are coming, so of course that's hot, right?
Makes sense.
But when it drops and then you see it on eBay 45 minutes later for like 5x the retail price, what that clearly means is there's more demand than supply, and you guys are in control of the supply. And listen, the stock price hasn't been doing great lately. You want some free money? Maybe make 3 times as much of these products.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
We're tying into a couple of our items today. You just hit on. So I'm gonna dippity doo dah just a little bit in what you just said. We are in control of the supply. I tell you this right now. Supply is down because of U.S. tariffs. So are they in control of the supply?
All right.
The other thing that you tapped into here, when we get to the acquired part, I'm not going to talk about this, so I'm going to talk about it right now. One thing that Michael Lewis mentions is, so Michael Lewis was the moderator interviewer for the 10th anniversary episode of the Acquired podcast. One thing that Michael Lewis talks about is earlier in his career, he did not exactly a takedown piece, but a not favorable piece on Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, like decades ago. This left a bad taste in Warren Buffett's mind because he remembers everything, apparently. Then later, decades later, I think this was during the Great Financial Crisis, Michael Lewis ends up buying A shares, some Berkshire Hathaway A shares. He had turned the other cheek. Warren Buffett noticed. So at some point, it comes up, Michael Lewis like interviewing Buffett or something like that was on the radar. And Buffett goes, was this the Michael Lewis that bought A shares 7 years ago? And he was like, what, you look at every shareholder that ends up coming through and you remember it. And then he said, and then Buffett goes, that same Michael Lewis then sold A shares on this date, and that date. Yep. Why is that?
Buffett's insane. That might be the theme of this podcast. You have all the money in the world and you're looking through your shareholder registry. Like, come on, dude. I do have a favor to ask, though. I thought I had read every word Michael Lewis had ever written, pretty much. I have not read that Buffett article, and so if you can find it, please send it my way.
Yeah, I will take a look. I feel from the way they were talking about it, it sounds like it was from like the late 80s, like around Liar's Poker time or something like that.
That could explain why I missed it. But excellent. All right, so that's it. Come on.
I appreciate that. Nike. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. You need a new jacket. This poor man and his jacket.
I really do. Speaking, just to support the US of A, I can speculate that later you're going to throw shade at the USA because of tariffs. I'm over here wearing my USA jacket. I just want everyone to know that. Well, if I could buy one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speaking of Nike, speaking of sports,
what I'm wearing right now is a Denver Nuggets t-shirt. So, Kroenke.
Go ahead. Yeah, but is it a Nike brand?
Sure.
Stan Kroenke. We both live in Colorado currently. The famous name around here, owns the Nuggets Avalanche. Basically, in terms of sports empires, his is worth 21 billion. The next closest was worth like 15, right?
Yep.
Biggest, wealthiest owner of sports teams in the world. For those who don't know, Stan Kroenke got a lot of his wealth from a marriage, and he married into the Walton family.
Well, hold on. That's a oversimplification.
Okay, but I don't want to talk people's ear off about Stan Kroenke. Go ahead.
Okay.
You do that.
Well, let's give a little bit more of what his sports empire looks like for a second.
Okay.
I won't be able to name all the teams, but he is the owner. But when I say owner, that might be majority owner. I'm not saying 100% necessarily for all these, but owner of the Denver Nuggets, the Arsenal Football Club, the Mammoth, that's the lacrosse team that's over here, the Los Angeles Rams, and I think he has like a couple others. He might have owned the Rapids. He owns a number of sports teams.
No one cares about the Colorado lacrosse team, Doogles.
No, you know why they matter? Because a few years ago, he had multiple championships under his belt. The Mammoth won, the Los Angeles Rams won, the Denver Nuggets won, and if you take the Mammoth off that, then you don't have a triumvirate. So you need to have the Mammoth in there. He owns the Mammoth.
Tell me how you take issue with my description of marrying into the Walmart family.
Yeah. So when they got married back. So he did marry into the Walton family, but when you say he got his wealth from there, they got married back in the 1970s. At that point, Walmart had like dozens of stores. It was not the Walmart that we all know today. So he indirectly, I'll say, built his wealth because of the marriage, but it's not like he married someone that was worth $10 billion, and that's where his money comes from. That's all.
Ooh, I mean, okay. So if I was married into the Google family in 2006, you'd be like, oh, well, not that big of a deal. The trajectory was pretty dang clear.
Yeah, but that would be, the way you just described it, it sounded like he married her, then before he got a bunch of Walmart stock, and that Walmart stock is worth $20 billion. And that's not the way it happened.
Okay.
Explain the way it happened.
Well, no, that's fair. I care about the end game. The reason he has $20 billion worth of sports and entertainment franchises has something to do with Walmart. That's the only point I'm trying to make here.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're talking about this in the pre-show meeting, right? The fascinating thing about Walmart is not only that it, is one of the world's largest retailers and was the world's largest retailer for a long time. I think Amazon has passed it, but I'm not sure. They're neck and neck at the moment.
I'm not sure.
And the first order of thinking around that, if you're in the Walton family, is, we're just going to make a bunch of money from Walmart. The second order of thinking is, every time we build a new Walmart, we build a new mini town. And that mini town needs a KFC, and that mini town needs a Batteries Plus, and that mini town needs whatever else. Yep. Because we know we can drive all this traffic there because people are driving there for the Walmart deals. So not only will I make money on Walmart, I'm going to make money on all the surrounding real estate. It's a really impressive and genius insight, if you ask me, because Listen, I wasn't born in the 30s or 50s or 70s even, but I don't recall people doing that in America.
That's right.
Really before Walmart sets that example. What he's doing today, which I find so fascinating, is taking that same model and applying it to his sports teams. So SoFi Stadium, where the Los Angeles Rams play, something like a $5 billion real estate project with all an entertainment district, housing,
self-funded
dining. Of course it's self-funded. Why would he give that free money to anyone else?
I know. But that tells you, the reason I say that is because that tells you how much he knew it was free money. Because you don't self-fund something for $5 billion at a risk, at a whim.
No, when it's risky, that's where you go shake a bunch of hands and bring in investors.
Yep.
And call it private equity.
Yep, exactly.
When you're going to make a nice profit, you write your own $5 billion check. That's it for me. It's a high level. There's an article we'll link on the Substack that breaks down some of this, and it's just a genius approach. The most interesting thing is actually that it makes buying some of these, the most expensive franchises in the world, it makes that not an afterthought, but like just one tiny component of the total business venture.
It's really about real estate. He's a real estate company that uses sports franchises. I never would have thought that to the extent. I mean, I knew that generally because I see what he does in Denver, but I never would have thought it to the extent until I saw this piece.
And I mean, for those who aren't in Colorado, what he's been playing the long game in Denver. He owns a significant portion of property directly adjacent to the NBA stadium, and the NHL stadium, that will be like his own town, basically. And again, it's been in the works for 30 years, but he had the foresight to buy that early on.
Yep.
To lease it back to another operator, and it's coming. Like he's going to own half the town.
Foresight for that, as well as the mammoth, as we previously discussed. So
stop it.
Okay. Ready for transition?
I'm putting my USA jacket on so you can throw some shade. All right?
Please do. I love this country. Do you know what this country's done for me? Come on now. Okay. But with that said, we're going to talk about tariffs. We have a full tariff episode. If you want to go back to see how we felt about tariffs last April, check out our tariffs episode. It's called something like, I tariff so hard, economics can't find me. Something like that, which is just one of our best titles. Let me just go ahead and throw that out there. Anyway, go back and check that out last April. So the Kiel Institute, which is a German think tank, what I love, I was looking up the Kiel Institute just to get a little bit of background, and they are one of the top 50 think tanks in the world, to which I responded, there are 50 think tanks in the world? Anyway, the Kiel Institute is a German think tank, and they did a report to see what the impact of tariffs have been over the past, I guess it's probably been about 8 months or so. I'm not sure exactly what dates they ended up looking at. I'm going to go over the key elements that they found. We'll put the report on the Substack if you want to go and dive in. They've got regressions and all sorts of stuff in here.
I mean, it's only 12 pages. It's not the typical Doogles like 700-page nonsense.
Yes. So there's that. All right. So one, they analyzed shipment level data on 25.6 million imports worth $4 trillion. That's the data set they looked at. Number one, completely non-surprising fact that they found was that the 2025 U.S. tariffs are almost entirely paid by Americans. It is a 96% to 4% split on who paid the tariffs.
I'm shocked.
Yes. We were talking about flabbergasted before. You were flabbergasted.
Think tanks to tell us this. I'm shocked.
Yes. How much money did you have to spend to do what was obvious from the beginning? But that's the biggest thing. U.S. customs revenue rose by $200 billion. Exporters didn't cut prices, but trade volumes collapsed. And it replicated almost exactly what happened in 2018 and 2019 when we tried to when we did the tariffs with China. Those are some high-level pieces, but I'm going to go into more detail. So I mentioned it's nearly a complete pass-through. Also, tariffs were not a transfer of wealth from foreigners to Americans along that same point. But what it is, what they found, which again, not surprising, but it is a transfer of wealth from American consumers to the U.S. Treasury. What they equate this to is it's the economical equivalent of a consumption tax. Okay? Just think about that. I've said the same thing about 4 times so far because I want it to sink in for people.
Yes, I mean, when are you going to say something that surprises me?
Do you know that probably 40% of this country, at minimum, probably would not even believe the things that I just stated still? But I'm going to keep going. So what they found happened was that tariffs reduced the quantity, that they didn't reduce any prices, but import quantities dropped by something like 20%. And there were a couple specific examples, they call them natural experiments, that they dove into, Brazil and India. So back in August of last year, the U.S. put a 50% tariff on Brazil. I remember this specifically because my Stone Coast stock dropped about 10% that day. I did not enjoy that. Anyway, what happened in that case was Brazilian export prices to the U.S., guess what? Did not change. There was no impact there, but the trade volume dropped by a whole bunch. And the same thing happened with India. They found with India, volume dropped somewhere between 18 and 24%. So what these countries are doing is they are not eating any sort of tariff. Why aren't they eating those tariffs? Because they have other markets they can sell to, so they're finding alternative markets. They also would have to cut so much. You have to cut prices so much in order to make up for the tariff piece that it or eat into your prices so much you couldn't be profitable. And then the other thing was they went, we're just going to wait it out. This is a temporary thing. It's just madness over there, so we're just going to wait it out.
I just want to send a special thank you for all the Brazil tariffs because I was trying to pull up the data. In the past year, I've had 2 Brazil investments that have made between 35 and 47%. So this is great. I love Brazil.
Beautiful. It's been beautiful. The tariffs were not the reason for that.
I'm trying to readjust my negative Nancy attitude over here. I appreciate that there's a hopefully neutral outside party looking at some of this data. Supply and demand in a complex adaptive system. To me, this all makes so much sense.
It does.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not raising this to surprise you, but you recall, as I mentioned before, if you go back to last April, the amount of conversation around the tariffs that seemed like, one, they didn't know what a tariff was, inclusive of the government that didn't know what a tariff was and what impact they would have. There was so much talk that was people are saying consumers are going to eat this. No, it may not happen. We don't know. Who knows what a tariff does? There's so much doubt, and it probably still exists, that I think looking at...
You're trying to get me in trouble. I mean, I think what you're describing is politicking versus talking to an economist. And it's kind of like the recent Tylenol conversation, I think, is a lot of politicking versus talking to a doctor. I've always lived more in the economist camp, of just understanding the basics of supply and demand. So maybe that's why, I don't know. I feel like I'm just uninterested here. Not this.
Yeah, but here, I'll just speak for myself then. Okay. I get your point. I get your take. Even speaking for myself, there's so much rhetoric that's happening right now about many, many things that there are times where I was like, oh, maybe I actually don't understand economics. Maybe this won't turn out the way that I thought it would. And so sometimes for me, it is helpful to go, oh, no, it is the way that the world still does work that same way. And so looking at this, I go, if they had put this out as the hypothesis last April, I would have gone, yeah, okay, yeah, this makes perfect sense. And then you look at what happened and go, great, the world still works in the way that we all thought it worked. Well, I find it to be helpful for myself.
Let me do my best to be fair and balanced because but let me just try and present all sides, right? The supply and demand equation is wholly uninteresting to me, and I expected exactly what this paper says to happen.
Okay, fair.
That being said, there are some surprising benefits on my end in terms of leverage that was created in situations I did not expect because of the rhetoric that's out there. And that's been interesting to watch. I think that it gets abused. And I don't know holistically, again, this is not a political podcast, that we've been a good partner to the people the countries that I would like us to be a good partner to.
Who have we been a good partner to?
It is fascinating to see at times how little leverage maybe a counterparty of ours seems to have based on what they're willing to accept. It's been wholly surprising. And that part of the equation, again, just trying to be fair and balanced, is something that I did not fully think through a year ago on Liberation Day, right?
Okay, we are going to have a longer conversation about this off pod because it's not a political podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give my short rebuttal, accepting what you just stated, but a short rebuttal nonetheless. Economics was the primary reason that was given for why tariffs were put into place. So I'm going to just state that.
Then refer to the study on the Substack, because here's the economic numbers.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm saying. Economics were given as the primary reason. When there was defense of the tariffs go into like that quarter following April last year, people talked about competition in the U.S., bringing jobs back to the U.S. We need foreign nations to pay their fair share. That this was what was said. And then what was celebrated was the amount of revenue coming in because of tariffs. If the government came out and said, we are instituting a federal sales tax of 20% and then celebrated the increased revenue from that sales tax, you go, oh, yeah, you increased sales tax and then got more money. Like that just makes perfect sense. And so that's one piece. If instead the primary argument was we need to increase the amount of leverage that the U.S. has and use our might in order to do blah, 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 which I'm not saying that would have made any sense and maybe we shouldn't have done it. There's probably political reasons. Then, yeah, we can claim that. But like, if I come to your house and I claim that I'm trying to come into your house in order to use the telephone and then I end up stealing from you and I go, well, yeah, but there was benefit to me because I did that. And you go, yeah, but you lied to me as to why you were doing it in the first place. I'm like, yeah.
Listen, if I really have to use the restroom and I don't want to tell you that, I'm going to tell you I have to use the telephone. All right?
Yeah, but then just don't pee on my shower curtain.
I think this tone you're taking with me, I'm borderline offended by it, and I think it would not be happening if I had a Team USA jacket on right now. That's what I think.
Yeah, there you go. All right. I do want to talk to you more off pod, though. I want to talk to you more off pod about it.
The economics it's
clear.
Yeah, it's clear. There we go.
It's clear. Fishbowl time? You good?
Fishbowl time.
Okay. The last item in the fishbowl is the Acquired podcast has been around for 10 years. And in order to celebrate their 10-year anniversary, they said, let's do something a little bit different for a holiday episode. So they had Michael Lewis of all of his books fame come on and moderate a conversation with them, interview them for this podcast. And most of what they spent the time doing is saying, what have we learned? What have we learned from specific episodes? What have we learned from running this podcast? And I found some of those lessons to be not only interesting in their own right, but also tangentially applicable to how you think about investing. And I think they're worth talking through. You ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. So first, scarcity as a moat. That's one. And they brought up mostly what they talked about here was the NFL episode that they did and what they learned there. So during this, they also talked about how Acquired has just changed over the years. And they went from doing, I don't remember the number, but a lot of episodes annually. Like they were just pumping them out to instead now they're releasing something like 8 to 12 episodes per year. And from the NFL, what they looked at was if you going back to supply demand, if you have supply discipline and you can create a high quality good, a luxurious high quality good, which is their 4-hour, 5-hour, right, podcasts that are going deep, you can then get people that really buy in. They create a handcrafted experience. They also
I've been over here grinding week over week for years for our listeners, thinking I was doing them a favor when actually I should show up once a month. This is what you're telling me, Doogles?
Potentially, but then you don't get to hear my harmony. My Bone Thugs in Harmony. But so they took that away from the NFL, and they also brought up the Hermes episode, right? Where there's something like really unique about this one thing.
This all goes back to my Nike jacket. But listen, more importantly than this, I didn't think this would be an NFL episode in any way, shape, or form. This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with the NFL today. This is what's wrong with college football today. This desire for more.
Yeah.
Back when there was only 16 games or even only 14 regular season NFL games and the playoff pool was smaller, if I was really invested in a team, I found myself feeling like I could not dare miss a game, like just game 10, right? In the 17-game season, man, if I got something fun going on, it's no sweat to miss a game or 2 or 3. And that's a slippery slope, because when it's no longer appointment viewing, the entire sport becomes less relevant. This has happened with the schedule too, right? When it used to be games are on Sunday and Monday night. Oh my goodness, that Monday night game felt special.
Yep.
Now there's football night in America here, and Monday night
Wednesdays,
football here. Thursday night football here,
Saturdays,
Christmas Day. It's garbage. They have completely lost. I know they make more money. More power to them. If life is about making more money, the NFL is doing great. If life is about holding my attention span, the NFL is not doing so great. And don't get me started on the NBA.
I won't get you started.
Major League Baseball.
You never have to fear from me getting you started on Major League Baseball. I have no interest in getting you started on Major League Baseball. So that's point number 1, scarcity plus quality. You get brand equity and you get pricing power. Okay. Number 2, the too hard pile. This comes from their Berkshire Hathaway episodes, which they did a multi-part series on. So if you take the Buffett Munger philosophy, you get your yes pile, you get your no pile, and you get the too hard pile. What that means is, if you look at this in an investing sphere, it's stuff that you just go, yeah, like this is squarely in my circle of competence. Like I fully understand this. I get this. I want to invest in this. Then you get it's in my circle of competence and I'm not going to invest in it. Then the too hard pile is the one you're like, I just don't understand it. And I'm never going to touch stuff I don't understand. Buffett has a very large too hard pile. And he and Munger have always talked about, like, that's fine. Even the clip, I don't remember if this was actually in the clip we played last week, but it was in the longer clip, where he discusses how if you only understand 30 companies really deeply, cool, wait for the right moment. Like, that's okay. You cannot get 30,000 things if you understand 30 of them. That's the second thing. So the way they've used that is they've come across opportunities that have come their way that they've ended up saying it's just too hard. Like Hollywood, they said like they've gotten offers to do Hollywood projects, and once they start digging in, they're just like, there's so much we don't understand in this, we're just not going to do it. TV adaptations, there's a bunch of other stuff that they did.
I feel like they put that in. I feel like they had an AI chatbot, right? The thing, and they just felt like they had to throw in a Buffett reference. Whatever, sure. Too hard pile.
You should listen to this episode. It's good. It's good. Okay.
It's been on my list. I just haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Then they discuss the podcast as a compounding asset. And this is something that they've learned. And they compare this with Michael Lewis to how he feels about books. So what Michael Lewis says with his books is it's not a compounding asset. It's like, actually, because he writes about such different topics, Michael Lewis, he has some group of people that like Michael Lewis for Michael Lewis, but he said generally what he feels like is he has to then find a new audience, because the people that care about FTX like really don't care about baseball. The people that care about baseball.
Again, Michael Lewis is one of my favorite authors, but listening to him, listening to Michael Lewis talk about the challenges of finding a new audience. It's like listening to Elon Musk explain that you should not save for retirement. Like, the dude is incredibly gifted.
Okay.
I don't think
I'm enjoying this. I like you taking down every one of these points. I love it.
Him finding a new audience. By the way, the most underrated Michael Lewis book, in my opinion, no one's ever read this thing, is a book about teenage girls softball in the Bay Area. I forget what it's called, but check that one out.
No, he doesn't come at this from like a woe is me perspective. He was just reacting to what they said.
No, I know. Sorry.
But no, it's he says, he goes, what I being Michael Lewis, so what I enjoy doing is finding something really obscure that is fascinating to me. And then I can write the story that then it brings out the fascinating part of it for other people.
And this is entirely my point. And what he enjoys doing that because he doesn't have to worry about paying the bills, or he doesn't have to worry about anything, because he could have a new Hollywood movie issued at any time. He could launch a new podcast. He could write a new book at any time. He has a green light for the world.
And what the acquired folks are saying is you go into your Apple Podcasts, you click follow, and then when we release the next one, a whole audience gets the episode. And he's like, that's just different. It's not a woe is me. It's just like, it's very different. And they have learned that in that world, that's such a huge asset for them, because there's some base of people that end up sticking around every time, and they just add to it.
Hold on, though. I think I can fix this. With Michael Lewis specifically, if he tomorrow was like, you can get a lifetime membership with me for $500 and everything I ever write will automatically be delivered to Kindle, there would be people that would, and sorry, he wouldn't want the fixed fee. He might want $50 a year or whatever. But Michael Lewis could build an audience that way if he wanted to. It's just unusual.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Every 3 years, I'm going to come out with a $20 book, and you can go buy it, or pay me $50 a year.
Good. Moving on.
Okay. The next one is the acquired folks talk about how what they're looking for is timeless content. So when they go to create an episode, they're looking for something that in their eyes will still maintain 80% of its value in 5 years. And they compare this to something like normal media, like a CNBC article, something they bring up. They go, that loses 98% of its value in a month because it's timely. And they try and find something that's more timeless, but they hope, maybe I should say the timeliness will happen when they release it, but that's not their goal. It's about something that's enduring.
Listen, if you wanted to have an intervention about our podcast with me, you could have done it off air. All right. So many people tell us they can't wait for Monday morning to come around to get an update on what happened last week. Not super timeless, Doogles. We're in trouble.
Not super timeless. Some of it is, though. It's hard to find. But it's interesting going back. So at the beginning of every year, as folks that have listened for a while, we release some of our greatest hits, like just the little segments. And as a part of that, I end up going through the episodes from the prior year. And it's really interesting. Some of the stuff that we covered, I'm like, whoa, crush that. And then I ignore the stuff we didn't. Okay. The next one is they look at a reputation over revenue. The example that they brought up here was Sequoia. So Sequoia, when the great financial crisis hit, they basically came out and they were like, everything we do, you protect the franchise. We will not lose money. Ignore the quarter. Like, it's not about short term. It's about our long term, like the long term durability of the business. And I don't know about this, but they said for Sequoia, they did stuff like, we're not going to take fees. Like, give fees back, because what we're about is making money over the long term for investors. It's not about making money right now. It's all high quality, etc. What the acquired people do is they look at who their partners are for advertising, and they want a very select, limited set of partners that they can have. And just like the episodes they do, they want them to be enduring. And yeah, the other thing I'll say, because I see your little smirk. One thing that's I haven't listened to a lot of acquired episodes. I've listened to probably like a handful, and I also haven't listened to it over time. I don't know what their earlier episodes were like. But in this, they talk about how much they've changed. And it comes up specifically. A lot of the things that they are laying out here are principles that have been developed over like the last 2 years. Like, this isn't like when they started, they had these principles and they've been doing this. They started to develop this as it became more popular. And so we'll see whether they stick to them. We'll see what the outcomes are, but it's still interesting.
This Doogles Take is brought to you by JP Morgan Payments, the best payment office. I mean, come on now. No, I have waited to consume this episode. No, I don't like any of their payment. I don't like any of their advertisers. It's all gimmicky, in my opinion. And I think they put together a really good show, and I appreciate their research. And now that they have some fame, I appreciate that they can reach out to so-and-so who was part of that company. Like, it's a good podcast. I don't buy that garbage for a second. That's a talking point of like you and I, again, not compared, but we do not take advertisements and have turned down a bunch of people that want to come on the show and stuff just because we feel like it taints it. The second I'm reading a JP Morgan Payments ad, whatever, that's fine. I'll enjoy that money, but that's not, I don't think you get to be on your high horse about that. They take money from people that help them reserve a 20,000 seat stadium to talk to Bill Gates or Zuckerberg or whoever. It's not like their hands are completely clean of, oh my goodness, we only take money from the most righteous folks. No, disagree.
They did discuss the interviews they did with folks, and part of what they said their realization is that the magic, I don't know if that was the word they used, but part of the secret sauce, whatever it is the interaction between the two of them. And so the interview episodes that they have just doesn't have that same level of uniqueness. for them.
Yeah, my favorite is when never mind, I was going to throw some shade. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. The last thing is discussing the research process. So they go into their research and production process, and they read all material they can find. They now have more access to insiders than they had before. So they try and talk to a bunch of insiders. They kind of like fell into their first insider, and it like worked out quite well. And then when they look at the research, they try and come at it from a non-judgmental place and just say, like, what is the story that's being told? And the question they ask of insiders is, what is most misunderstood? And they said that's something not in a manipulative way, but in a research way that they found has helped them to get more people to talk to them. Because they're like, we're going to read through everything. Tell me when we read that, what we're not going to understand and what we're going to take wrong based on your inside view. And they said people have started to talk to them, partially at least, because of that.
It's a great point. And this goes back to the Buffett point last week about you don't ask the CEO about his company. You ask him about his competitors and who he can shoot and be better off. Or the polling during the U.S. election where the one dude from France on Polymarket made tons of money because they didn't ask people who they were going to vote for. They asked people who they thought their neighbor would vote for, right? So this triangulation of don't tell me your opinion because you're not going to tell me the truth. Tell me someone else's opinion. Or like, the roundabout way to get the truth is, gosh, that's one of the most meaningful things I want to say in life, but I'm probably over-exaggerating. It's a really critical point.
And if you can do it genuinely, it's much more meaningful than not. All right, so those are the key things that I took away from this episode. I do think it's worth a listen. It's a couple hours. I mean, they can't do anything that's less than 2 hours. So this is the shortest acquired episode.
I mean, my main frustration with the podcast, and again, I really like the guys, and it's a great show. It's really like they haven't even acquired another company yet. I mean, what is they're claiming to be a success after 10 years, and they haven't bought Microsoft? Like, what are they doing?
Bought Microsoft. Microsoft, you are now a podcast.
Shouldn't they have at least made one acquisition by now?
Well, they do make investments. They now have an investing fund.
Wow. All right. There we go.
So they acquire parts of businesses at the very least.
Okay. Then props. Shout out. I will.
Michael Lewis does ask. He's like, what does that have to do with podcasting? Like, what is the difference there? I didn't realize that they had started in the VC world. And so they do have some of that. Like one of them was a software engineer, I think, and the other one was an actual venture capitalist.
Yeah, the guy that's a software engineer lets you know about it. Let me tell you.
You are cranky McCrankerson today.
You woke me up too early. Great show. Sorry. I'm having some fun with Doogles, but like the show, like the guys. Perfect. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hit skippydoogles@gmail.com and tell us how much less frequently you'd like this show so we can create enduring, quality, scarce content for you.
Every 5 years, we have a 15-minute episode.
There we go. Maybe 17 minutes.
Yeah, there we go.
Honestly, listener mail, send it our way at skippydoogles@gmail.com. And otherwise, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, everybody.